In this podcast episode, Jordan Peterson, a clinical psychologist and professor emeritus at the University of Toronto, engages in a discussion with Ben Shapiro about the themes of truth, sacrifice, and the significance of biblical narratives in understanding human existence. The conversation covers various topics, including Peterson's latest series, Foundations of the West, his personal religious journey, and the implications of self-sacrifice in both individual lives and broader societal contexts. Peterson begins by emphasizing the importance of truth, asserting that there is nothing better than what will happen to an individual if they tell the truth, regardless of how it may appear at the moment. He acknowledges the fear that often accompanies truth-telling, as people frequently lie to avoid trouble. However, he argues that the path to a meaningful existence cannot be paved with deception. Instead, he posits that the act of speaking truthfully is inherently tied to the order and goodness in the world. This perspective aligns with the biblical narrative, particularly the story of Jonah, which illustrates the dangers of ignoring one's conscience and the imperative to confront uncomfortable truths. The discussion then shifts to Peterson's exploration of biblical stories, particularly in his new book, We Who Wrestle with God. He shares insights from his analysis of Old Testament narratives, highlighting how these stories encapsulate profound truths about human existence, morality, and the nature of the divine. Peterson notes that the central character of the Bible is not merely the figures like Abraham or Moses, but God himself, who is portrayed through various narratives that reveal different aspects of his nature. Peterson's examination of the story of Abraham and Isaac serves as an example of the theme of sacrifice. He explains that the biblical account challenges the notion of child sacrifice, presenting it instead as a metaphor for the sacrifices parents must make for their children. The willingness to expose children to the world, despite the inherent dangers, is a form of self-sacrifice that ultimately leads to growth and maturity. This idea resonates with the broader theme of the necessity of sacrifice for the sake of community and future generations. As the conversation progresses, Peterson articulates the idea that community is fundamentally predicated on sacrifice. He argues that the human experience is characterized by relationships, and these relationships require individuals to make sacrifices for the greater good. This notion is deeply embedded in the biblical texts, which consistently emphasize the importance of selflessness and the willingness to confront chaos for the sake of order. Peterson also touches on the implications of this understanding for contemporary society. He expresses concern over the increasing trend of individualism and the neglect of communal responsibilities. He argues that a society that prioritizes self-interest over collective well-being ultimately undermines its own stability and moral fabric. The biblical narratives, he suggests, offer timeless wisdom on the importance of sacrifice and the interconnectedness of human lives. Throughout the discussion, Peterson addresses the perceived dichotomy between faith and reason, particularly in the context of modern secularism. He argues that the Enlightenment's rationalist approach has led to a misunderstanding of the role of faith in human existence. Rather than viewing belief as a mere proposition, Peterson emphasizes that faith is a lived experience that shapes one's understanding of the world. He highlights the significance of engaging with biblical texts not just as historical documents, but as living narratives that provide insight into the human condition. By examining these stories through a psychological and philosophical lens, individuals can uncover deeper meanings that resonate with their own experiences. Peterson's approach seeks to bridge the gap between the scientific and the theological, demonstrating that both realms can coexist and enrich one another. Peterson also shares glimpses of his personal religious journey, revealing how his exploration of biblical narratives has deepened his understanding of faith. He expresses admiration for the resilience of religious communities, particularly in the face of modern challenges. He notes that many individuals find their faith strengthened through the examination of these stories, as they reveal the complexities of human existence and the divine. The conversation culminates in a discussion about the ongoing challenges Peterson faces regarding his medical license in Canada, where he is required to undergo social media training as part of a controversial intervention. He expresses his determination to confront this situation, viewing it as a moral obligation to stand against what he perceives as an infringement on free speech and professional integrity.